What's Gymrex? Would you believe a movie audience guide presented as a public service by this theater's management to help you select your motion picture entertainment? Well, that's what it is. And we urge you to learn these rating symbols and use them as a guide for you and your family. G means suggested for general audiences, all ages. M, suggested for mature audiences, parental discretion advised. R, restricted, persons under 16 not admitted unless accompanied by parent or adult guardian. X, persons under 16 will not be admitted. This seal in advertising indicates that the film was approved under the Motion Picture Code of Self-Regulation.
Hey, it's Josh, and once again, if you're seeing me, you already know this, but if you're just hearing us through the normal means, this is another video episode of The Movies That Made Me, and this one, I gotta tell you, it's a great one. It's a wonderful kind of offbeat conversation with me and Joe and our good friend Adam Rifkin. But this one, if you have the option, you really want to check it out on video and Spotify, because we got a lot of very cool clips of things you're not going to see anywhere else, or at least are hard to see anywhere else. So if you have the option, switch over, watch it now. But if you don't, stay with us, because it's still a great episode, but we just don't want you to miss anything if you don't have to. And now, here it is, our amazing mashup episode of The Movies That Made Me. This is The Movies That Made Me, with your hosts, Josh Olson
and Joe Dante.
No, it's like it's that false humility. He's
no,
Listen,
it's
nobody
true.
else had done it before us. You know,
Is that true? Really? Well, hang on. What year was it?
68.
This was 1968, and
Oh, okay, fine. Then I take it all
they
back.
had just re-released the 1943 Batman serial, which they ran all 15 chapters at one sitting. And this was like, you know, for us college-age kids, this was a kind of a revelation, because this is the kind of stuff our parents were watching during the war.
Right.
And it's very jingoistic, and it's very racist, and it's just crazy.
It's funny as hell.
And what's more, they cheat like crazy, because at the end of every episode, Batman is like a robot truck or something, and then the next scene they have him rolling away before the truck hits him, and it's like, wait a minute. And I guess they figured, you know, after a week had gone by, the kids wouldn't remember. But when you watched it all together, it was just this giant fraud. But it was very, very, very entertaining, and it was very popular. And so John Davison and I decided, because we were film collectors, we said, well, you know, we got some serials. We could do a thing like this, but instead of just running the serial by itself, we should intercut it with other stuff. And so we had a whole bunch of pieces of TV shows and cartoons and trailers and things. And so we found this Bela Lugosi serial called The Phantom Creeps. And we intercut that with a whole bunch of other stuff and ran it, I think it's at the Philadelphia College of Art. And it was, people thought it was hilarious. And it ran like 5 hours. And we eventually worked it into a program where we would rent movies, because we had to cut them up. We couldn't buy them. We'd have to buy them to cut them up, but we rented them. And since we couldn't come up, we would put them on different projectors, and we'd go to a school and we'd start running one picture. And then when it got boring, we would put one of our reels on of stuff that we had, and then we'd skip down to some other part in that picture, or maybe we'd go to a different picture. And so by the time it was done, we had a 7-hour show where we were intercutting all sorts of like Hercules movies with space movies and it's The Tingler. I mean, anything we could find that was funny. And it became a big deal. And the Schlitz people found out about it, and they said, you know, we understand that you've got this show that college kids like, and we want to sponsor it, and you can take it around, and we can sell beer. And so we having no rights, by the way, to any of this stuff. And for a long time, until I started working for Roger Corman and couldn't do it anymore, we would fly to Tuscaloosa, Pennsylvania, or someplace, and run this thing, and they would sell beer, and Schlitz would give us money. So it was, and we kept changing it. You know, if something didn't get a laugh, we'd cut it out. And it was always about juxtaposition. It wasn't necessarily the quality of the material; it was how was it butted up against something else. And so you'd really learn how to it was a great editing lesson because you really learned what was how long something needed to be left on in order to be funny. And I ended up using a lot of that stuff that I learned on my first movie, which includes, as many of my movies do, clips from the movie Orgy. I've been using it ever since.
So that's Hollywood Boulevard, is what you're referring to.
That was Hollywood Boulevard, and now the Orgy, which we had to retire because it was falling apart. The guys at American Film Genre Archive came to us and said, we'd really like to distribute this, and so I had a 5-hour version that I had run at Quentin's Theater in Hollywood very successfully. And they said, well, let us run that. Let us distribute that. And so now if people want to run the movie Orgy at their school or whatever, even in their theater, they can rent it from American Genre Film Archive, except that you can't charge admission because there's so much non-copyrighted stuff in it.
So you cut it together with all 16 millimeter prints that you owned?
We eventually had to buy prints because it was just so clumsy renting them and then having to spool down and then take them back and say, well, let's just buy them and cut them up. And so, and we went through a whole lot of different movies. I was a teenage werewolf and Speed Crazy, and we would rotate them. We would leave them in for a while and then we'd cut them out and run something else. So this version is not the optimum version, but it's the version that exists that has enough sprockets to actually get through a printer.
That's wild. So the whole experience of the movie Orgy, which I never knew until you just said this now, was basically it was a fluid, changing, traveling show.
It was like a Warhol movie. It was like Chelsea Girls. Every time you ran it, it was different.
Wow. How cool.
What's the Time Code, right? The Mike Figgis movie where he, not quite the same thing, but he would do live presentations of it because it was 4 cameras going at the same time. And there's a theatrical
depending
version.
on what order you saw the stuff in, it would change what happened.
Well, but he would sit there and he'd do these live presentations where he would mix, because you would not cut in a normal way. There'd just be a screen with 4 screens on it, and then the audio would tell you which was the primary frame to be looking at. But he would do live presentations of it where he'd mix it live, so it would be a different experience for everybody who saw the movie, which is kind of an interesting, and all of which is a lovely segue into our very offbeat episode this week of the movies that made me, with our my dear friend and co-host Joseph Dante, creator of the movie Orgy, and has done some things since then. And my friend and collaborator Adam Rifkin. We were doing this. Started out, we were just going to do a little blip for this, and then it turned into this idea for an episode, and hope you'll enjoy it. But we are sadly we're not going to be there. But this Friday, July 18th at 7 p.m., the Waco, Texas Hippodrome movie theater is going to be doing a free screening, because it has to be free, of the movie Adam and I made, Airports, which is made. Fair,
sort of.
Compiled, conceived, which is, we talked about it a little bit on the show before, but it's we took all 4 airport movies and mashed them into one airport movie crashes into another airport movie and hilarity ensues. We went kind of insane.
Nancy? Are you all right?
Yeah.
How is it down there?
It's better.
All right, I understand. Now, we're getting Al Murdoch on this. He was our chief instructor pilot on 747s for 4 years. Now, I'll get back to you. Bill? It's ringing. My wife and son are up there in that airplane. I'm going to Salt Lake City.
I'm sorry. How the hell are we going to get that aircraft?
Damn it, I don't know. That plane can do almost anything. And Al Murdoch knows more about flying it than anybody. Now, where the hell is he?
No answer.
Wait a second. He was going out to meet 409. Try the VIP lounge.
Yeah. How's it flying now?
It's on autopilot.
Well, how much damage was it?
Oh, not a great deal. There's just a big hole in it where the pilots usually sit.
Alan Murdoch. Al, it's Bill.
Yeah, what's up? They said it was an emergency.
If you're in Waco, Texas, which sadly we are not, you can go see it for free. And if you bring a canned good?
If you bring a canned good, you get a free shot of booze.
You get a free shot of booze. That's right, which is seems like a good deal to me.
But they clarified 1 shot of booze.
Yeah, 1 shot of booze. So don't show up with like a 6-pack of canned goods expecting to get anything more than 1.
Yeah.
But it did. It seemed like a good excuse, right? I mean, Adam and I started talking, and we were like, "Oh my god!" And then we have like the granddaddy of them all,
of the Mashup movie,
the greatest, and the original and never to be topped movie Orgy, which Joe was just talking about. But anyway, my history, kind of, and I realized this the other day, and I finally tracked it down. It's not that hard. It's on YouTube, but I haven't seen it in a million years. And it never showed up on any of the DVDs they put out. And I always, like, over the years, started to doubt that such a thing existed, but it didn't. And I just found it, and I watched some of it, and it's wild. Do you guys remember SCTV in 1981 did an entire episode of the show back when it was half hour, where they dubbed an episode of the Cisco Kid?
Howdy. Howdy. Nice suit. Thank you. Who can I help today?
Cisco!
What is it, Pancho?
Listen, I've just drawn up this petition. You have just got to sign it and lend your support. Everybody is.
What do you want done?
I want the barber driven out of town. I'm absolutely free.
Boy, sounds very serious, Pancho.
Serious? Are you kidding me?
Would I kid you?
That animal. I went in for a shampoo and a set, and he cut off over half my bangs. I'm sure I'm probably the laughing stock of the entire community.
Have you been drinking?
It's not the drinking. It's just a symptom anyway.
Everyone knows that life is just a symptom.
Oh, heavy, but it's much more deep-rooted in me. It goes back to an unresolved conflict with my father. Oh, my father. Anyway, I'm going to be rich.
What do you mean?
The governor sent me a check for $500.
Howdy.
He wants me to be a silent partner in his hotel business. I guess I'm not such a dumb goof, eh, Cisco?
No, Pancho. Nature lobotomized your brain at birth.
She did? I bet my father put her up to it.
I don't remember that.
Do you remember that, Joe?
Great.
It's wild. And it's not on any of their DVDs or anything. So it's like, I understand. And, probably not for the few minutes I watched, probably not quite up to like SCTV's best standards, but, Jesus Christ, it's pretty wild. And I think that may be the first time I encountered something like that. Although, we'll get into this, some theatrical versions, but I kind of wanted to walk through a few and go out on what I think are like the absolute best of the bunch. And Adam had some thoughts on ones he's seen, and I know Joe's seen stuff. And I thought it was just kind of fun.
And this is on YouTube?
You can find the SCTV Cisco Kid on YouTube. Yep. Okay. Yep. Like a lot of things. And should also say that with the exception of a few movies, which we'll talk about later, none of these are available at Movies Unlimited because none of these can be sold to you. But they're still our sponsor, and we love them. But yeah, I don't know where you want to like. I mean, I was going to build up to Joe Dante's movie Orgy a bit, but
I do think when we started before you started rolling.
Yeah,
I do think it bears repeating that Joe created this genre, the mashup genre, with the movie Orgy.
Yes.
Yes. No, I didn't do it alone. I had John Davison also to help me.
Well, you guys created the genre.
Yeah. I love how it, first of all, I love how it just sort of fell out. It just became like nobody woke up with this idea because it seems like the best of these kind of work that way. That it just sort of became a thing. It just evolved from one thing into another. What I cannot get over, having now done something of a similar, although very different nature, which was a lot of fun, but a lot of work cutting on ridiculously iMovie. I can't imagine the physical labor involved in doing what you guys were doing.
Yeah, how did you even get started with so many different movies and TV show episodes and serials to keep track of?
Well, we were collectors. We collected a lot of stuff, and we were not blind to the comedic potential of some of the material that we had. And also, you got to remember, this was an era where if somebody saw a kid show when they were young, they won't have seen it for 15, 20 years. Yeah. And to suddenly see it again, to see Andy's gang, again, after having never even dimly remembered that you saw it, or Tales of the Texas Rangers, or whatever.
Anybody know where Bill went? No. I saw him riding out town sometime back, and he seemed to be in a mighty big hurry.
Wherever Mr. Hickok is, Snake Eyes, I can find him.
What do you mean?
I can track him down with this here dog.
Why don't you practice on a chicken? I'm sure Lassie doesn't understand all this.
Hi, Miss Miller.
Hello, Porky. How's your mother?
She's still coughing, but she's better.
Oh, that's good. Now, sweetheart, don't torment this poor dog so.
What's the matter? You do something wrong?
If you're a kid, you're always doing something wrong. Golly, they never want you to learn anything. How do they ever expect you to grow up?
There was a nostalgia factor that was just undeniable. I mean, people were just a gobsmacked by, oh my God, I forgot I saw that. And also the fact that it was absurd. It was absurd when it was new, and now it's even more absurd. It was just icing on the cake.
So changing the context.
But it had to be seen, and this was the whole deal with the movie Orgy, which is why I was reluctant to let them distribute it unless they could run it with an audience. The audience is the extra factor. If you can't just watch the movie Orgy on a video screen and get the same experience, you have to see it with an audience. Because the audience reaction is the second dimension of the movie, and it doesn't work without an audience. I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think and also for sure because it's such an event thing too. You know, it's not there are even some raucous comedies you can watch alone and get a lot of the pleasure from, but the movie Orgy is such a unique.
I remember seeing the movie Orgy. When would this have happened, Joe? Do you have any idea? I moved to LA in '84, and I know at some point in those mid '80s, I saw it in LA somewhere. Do you remember where that screening might have been?
I didn't keep a list.
Okay.
Of all the screenings, but I do know that it was probably the same print.
Okay, because I remember where I saw, and I don't remember if it was at the New Art or which theater it was at, but it was packed and people went nuts for it the whole time, and it was just really an event. It
might have been the Fox Venice.
That might have been. It was just, it was an entire evening of hilarity. It was great.
But also not dependent on, like, if you're looking at it going, oh, Christ, it's 5 hours long and I've only got 3.5 hours. No. You could go and have a great time.
No matter what.
It's not like you're going to miss the big reveal at the
You
end.
want to leave and have dinner and come back.
Yeah.
Come back.
You haven't missed anything.
That's right. That's right.
But it's the cumulative effect that you find after 4 or 5 hours of watching this stuff. It does something to your brain. You know, you don't have any defenses. It just washes over you.
That's
and it
has its way with you.
Real as it goes on.
So true.
That's definitely true. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen the whole thing all the way through. I've gone to a couple of screenings over the years, all since I've known Joe. Unfortunately, I had heard of it. You never traveled far with it. Well, no, you did it originally in
over the country.
Yeah, okay.
But I had surrogates when I started working for Roger. We had to hire people to take it, and that was the problem. Is there's so many jumps in it to different film stocks that if you don't know the material, you can't follow the focus and you can't raise and lower the volume.
Oh, wow.
The film is different. So you had to really rock. It was quite an effort to actually just project it.
Holy shit.
Now, did your surrogates go out? Did they have notes that they had to work off of?
No, we had to give them a pep talk about how to do it. And when Mighty Mouse comes on, you make sure that it's not too loud because that's makes it loud. It was an art to it.
So it really was a live experience. It really was a traveling. I mean, I'm thinking like the Warhol exploding plastic inevitable thing, where it was like always the dancing oil bubbles were always new. That's the same
but
vibe?
that was more true in the beginning when we were actually bicycling different prints of different movies.
Gotcha.
You know, and when we finally said, "Look, this is just impossible. We just got to buy the movies and cut them up." And then we would simply, based on the audience reaction, decide whether we want to keep that movie or go to a different one.
Gotcha.
Now, what happens? This is the problem that I have with like the physical cutting thing. It's just because you were not, a professional setup at this point. You couldn't just run new prints. Like you have a great scene, you drop it in somewhere, you realize it's not working there. It needs to be edited and chopped up a little bit and resequenced and put somewhere here. like that has physical wear and tear on the film too, right?
Well, the film is a resilient medium. There's no doubt about it, as this proves. But also, when you're cutting on 16 millimeter, the sound is not synced up to the picture. The sound is ahead of the picture.
Right.
So any cut you make, the sound overlaps into the next scene. Now, sometimes that can help you. Other times it hurts you, and you have to bloop off the sound that you don't want to hear with black tape. It was arduous, believe me.
It sounds like it.
I mean, it's so much. I just think of like scenes we did where we would be like, hey, can we do this? And I'd take a little clip of the thing. I'd email it to Chris Millsap, who was doing a lot of our effects. And then like 45 minutes later, it would come back and you're like, hey, that was a good idea. It works. You drop it right in the movie.
It's a different time.
These guys would have to be like,
but
also we find another.
If you're cutting on a cutting board with a little video thing, you have to play it on the projector in order to be able to actually see whether or not it works. So you have to be taking it off and putting it back on. And I did this for years.
Wow.
I mean, this accounts for my mental state.
Now,
clearly,
did the movie Orgy play any role in getting you employed by Roger?
No.
Okay.
No. If anything, it was a detriment. What's he doing now?
Okay.
Well, it is now. So people will still be able to see it from time to time.
Yes, no, I think it's available. I mean, it can be booked. It can be booked in schools. It can be booked in theaters.
By the way, I just watched some of it last night on Vimeo.
Yes,
there's a Vimeo rip of it.
Well, there are various rip-offs of it.
Yeah.
It's been, but also I think the AGFA people are talking about putting it out as a Blu-ray.
That would be great.
Which I'm not actually in favor of.
Really? I'd love to have it.
I think you need to see it with an audience. But anyway.
But we live in a world where that doesn't. Yeah, I don't know.
A dwindling possibility these days.
Do you ever get tempted to go back and do something like that on a?
No, I've been tempted to go back and reconstitute some of the stuff that I really like that isn't in it. But it's
you don't want to make like a new one from.
A new one, no.
The movie Orgy Part 2.
No, some of the stuff that's in it is really irreplicable. I mean, there's just nothing like it that you could ever find. There's some buffering cartoon commercials that were supposed to be woke, and they didn't last except for I think they showed them once and they stopped. But they're hilarious, and there's parody commercials, there's student films, there's all sorts of stuff. I just don't know how you could imitate that today.
So do you think there's stuff in the movie Orgy where the version of it in the movie Orgy is the only place it exists?
Yes.
Maybe now? Wow.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Wow. So no unused shots from Magnificent Ambersons or anything, right? Is that
no missing shots from Magnificent Ambersons?
But the whole ending that they didn't use is in it.
Yeah, that's in there. That would be hilarious if it was. It's just, hey, wait a minute. Well, let's kind of jump in because there's a bunch of I want to talk about a few of these, and some of them you guys have seen, and some you haven't. And it's all good. Like I recently saw. Have you seen Joe Guy Madden's Vertigo thing, The Green Fog?
Heard about it, but I haven't seen it.
It's really interesting. I finally saw it. Yeah, it's called The Green Fog. The great Guy Madden did it from 2017, and it's sort of. I mean, it's weird. If you hadn't told me what it was, I would have eventually figured out a Vertigo connection. But it's in a sort of really interesting, kind of amorphous, emotional way. But it's a ton of shots from a lot of movies made in San Francisco and TV shows. That all sort of in some way kind of follow a little bit the structure of Vertigo in a way. And I can't, I don't know if Guy listens to the show.
Sounds odd.
Yeah, but it's wonderful. And there is a sequence, and I was looking it up, and he has the greatest line about it. There's a whole bit, there's an early Chuck Norris movie. In case anybody's ever wondered, yes, Guy Madden has worked with Chuck Norris. Scenes from a movie called An Eye for an Eye, one of his early ones. One of the interesting things he does is in a ton of the scenes is characters will be, I was about to say talking, but they're not talking. It'll be a conversation and he'll cut back and forth. And he just literally cuts out every part where they say something. So it's characters inhaling to say something, characters taking a bite of something, characters going, and then not talking. And I was kind of mesmerized. There's a very long, probably Chuck Norris has more screen time than anybody else. Just a lot of shots of him staring vacantly into the camera.
Funny.
Which is like funny. But I found this interview from him. He says, when you isolate Chuck Norris without dialogue, he has a Bressonian quality.
As would
he kind of does. But there's something so, like, I've always been fascinated by the fact that Chuck Norris does not seem to have improved much as an actor in the 55 years he's been working. It's kind of an impressive feat, but yeah, nobody sits and stares blankly at a camera like Chuck Norris. And, that comes through. But yeah, the Green Frog's really interesting, and you can find it out there. It's also like a happy thing of I don't know why I'm a big Adrian Zmed fan, and Adrian Zmed shows up, and it's also a little Nicolas Cage from The Rock, because you have to. But it's
have you guys seen The Clock?
Well, we're going to get to The Clock, but we can do that now. We can talk about. I have not. Have you?
I have not seen it either, but I hear it's incredible.
It takes a whole day.
That's what I hear. 24-hour movie.
So yeah, Christian Marclay made this movie, The Clock, in 2010. It was at LACMA, right, Joe? Or
yeah.
And I know
Dan just saw it when it was playing there.
No, Dan saw all of it.
Yeah,
our good friend Dan Waters. It is 24 hours.
Did he have to go to the bathroom at some point?
Well, he went back multiple times. You can't just and it is scenes from hundreds of films, I believe, of clocks in movies. You know, sometimes things are going on in front of them or what have you. And it's 24 hours long, and each minute of the film corresponds to a minute of a clock in a movie. I'm having a hard time describing it. Like, if you're watching it at 3:03 in the afternoon, there's somebody standing in front of a clock where it's 3:03 in the afternoon.
Yeah, the clocks track the actual time of day in real time for 24 straight hours.
I don't know how you do that. You can't. I mean, everyone pump it through a computer. Like, AI isn't there yet. AI hasn't screened everything. Can't pull that stuff out. Do you have any thoughts at all? Like, you must have wondered about this, both of you guys. Like, how the hell do you go and find those shots to begin with?
You have to be a pretty dedicated movie lover to know where every shot of every clock and watch is from every movie ever made.
There's only so many shots of clocks in High Noon. You know, you can't. Even if you use them, it'll give you 5 minutes.
Like, there's, you're sitting, it's like just an endless bounty of riches when you get to like midnight or something. But 2:14 in the afternoon. What's the,
Yeah, how do you find, you're right, how do you find some movie somewhere where somebody's looking at a clock that's 2:14 in the afternoon? It's amazing that they were able to pull it off.
Not every movie has the, foresight to call itself 3:10 to Yuma. But, I'm just in awe. Like, if I ever met Christian Marclay, I would want to know that. I would want to understand how. Because at no point what do you have 100 people working for you just watching 1,000 movies, and you're paying them an arm and I don't know, but it apparently was an incredible experience. And yeah, I think Dan's the only person I know who saw the whole thing.
Did they screen it at the museum on film?
I don't know. I don't think.
Does it exist on film?
I don't think it's
only. I was going to say that's a lot of cans.
And I don't think you're sitting in a theater watching it, but
he was at the museum.
Was he sitting in a theater?
Yeah.
Absolutely wild. Yeah, that one. Actually, most of these I'm in awe of, and I'm in awe of. There's a few I'm not, and we'll get into those in a minute because they're the ones that were made by studios. There are actually a few of these I think that are legit. But I mean, Adam, can I tell you, the work that went into airports was significant, but it was fun. It was like, because of the nature of like what we were doing and digital editing, it never stopped being fun. It's not like, what you did. Like, I have a funny idea. Now we have to spend the next 4.5 days making one cut. That would not be fun. But then you get into like, then every now and then we'd like watch the movies again and come up with a new thing, or somebody would stumble across a scene. We just talked about this on an interview. It's still a great heartbreak. We found an old episode of The Incredible Hulk, the Lou Ferrigno, Bill Bixby show, where he's on an airplane and they actually used footage because it was Universal. They used stock footage from Airport 75 of the airplane. And we just pulled our hair out for days trying to figure out how do we cut this into our stupid movie. And we couldn't come up with it. And it was heartbreaking. Because the Hulk gets into a fight down and,
but Joe has inspired me. The fact that Movie Orgy was so fluid and so alive, and it was breathing and changing. Maybe it's time we reinvestigate where we can maybe fit some of that Hulk footage into airports.
Sure. Well, my hope is somebody hears this and goes, "Hey, you dummies, how about this?" And we're like, great.
That would be
Steal
good.
your idea.
Maybe all we need, there was that one shot, and maybe that's all we need is like the green hand on the cockpit control, like pushing it up,
Pushing it up,
yeah.
something. I don't know, but yeah, that was kind of heartbreaking. But then you hear about like the labor that Joe goes through on the Movie Orgy. But then you come to some of these other films, and I think The Clock is probably the top of the list, where it's like just the intellectual labor of figuring out how to put it together is staggering. And we're going to go out on a couple that are like up there that are completely bonkers.
It's also a pretty risky proposition, because if you decide, okay, we're going to make The Clock, we're going to research, we're going to watch every film, we're going to look for every clock.
Yes.
And then you get, pretty far along, and then you realize, holy shit, there aren't any movies with any clocks from 2 a.m. till 4:30 in the morning. What are we going to do for those hours?
Yeah. Nothing at 4:25 in the afternoon.
So what did he do?
Apparently they found the shots, I guess.
Found the shots. Absolutely crazy. But then there's one from 1993, and I was so psyched to see it, and it's a worthy thing to watch. Michael Hazavanish, how do you pronounce it? Hazavanish, who did The Artist and some others, made a movie called La Classe américaine, where he takes this one feels a little bit like cheating, but it's kind of fun, where he takes a whole bunch of scenes from American movies, but he dubs them. So characters are like, and it's scripted. So it's not like he's taking scenes from movies and then figuring out a way to cut them together so they make sense. He's actually got them saying things that they're not saying, which I feel is cheating. Would you agree?
It's cheating for what we did, but for what he sort of created for himself, I guess he created his own set of rules for his version, I guess,
Yeah.
I mean, I get why he would do it that way. Wait, we watched this at your house, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, that's right. We did watch it, and it was pretty good, I thought.
But that feels like the easy end of the spectrum.
It was the cheat version. I agree with you, but I understand that he probably in his mind thought, this is the only way I can tell the story I want to tell, rather than this is the story the footage is telling me to tell.
Yeah, exactly. Like as like we found a film.
Yeah,
what we were doing. But
and now a word from our sponsor.
Every week we talk about how much we love physical media. Just in case you think we're full of it, this is just a tiny glimpse of my library here. As you know, many of the movies we talk about on the show are available at moviesunlimited.com, and the experts on movies and physical media since 1978. You'll find thousands of titles to choose from, classics, hard to find ones, new releases. You know that physical media is where it's at. You know that you'll wake up tomorrow and it'll still be here, unlike streaming where you can never be certain. Go now to moviesunlimited.com, the movie collector's website where shipping is always free on orders over $50. While most of these are movies that you have to find on like YouTube or Vimeo or go to a theater like with Joe's, there are, I would say, some films like actual commercial releases that sort of qualify. I think the obvious one would be Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid.
Sure.
Which I know we've talked. Hey, Joe, you weren't involved with that, but
no, but it was,
a lot.
It's a funny movie. The problem with that movie is that the difference in film stocks is so extreme that I know what he was going for. He was trying to make it all look, seamless. But the fact is that when it cuts to Edward Arnold in a movie from the 1940s, and then it cuts to Steve Martin, shot like that year, it's so obvious that the footage is old and doesn't match, which I guess could be part of the fun because the audience is aware of that. And there's some very, very funny stuff with that character in that movie. But it's a very clever movie. I was a little disappointed that it went into that the last part of the movie went into the Nazi stuff with Carl Reiner. That it was entirely original to them and didn't use the gimmick.
It does feel kind of like, I mean, again, I know they didn't. If you buy into the sort of naive theory that these movies are being made up as they go, right? It does feel kind of like they went, "Oh, this is fucking exhausting. Let's just do this."
Yeah. But you're absolutely right, Joe, about the difference in film stock, which even at the time I found very jarring, and how that is sort of that movie's, I guess, sort of a victim of when it was made. Because if you did that exact thing now, you could make it seamless.
That's true. That's true. And the first time I ever saw it done really well was in Topaz, where Hitchcock took all this footage of Fidel Castro, and then he took his own footage and he made it look like the same newsreel footage that he got from Castro. So it was flawless. I mean, it was perfect. It looked like newsreel footage.
Yeah.
Well, there's that also that I don't want to ruin it, but there's that great bit at the climax of Day of the Jackal too, with the footage of De Gaulle.
Yeah,
that is beautifully used. And I didn't even think of that. There's another one like Zelig would sort of count.
Zelig totally counts, and I was just thinking that too.
Zelig is a masterpiece.
I completely agree. Total masterpiece.
There's no other movie like Zelig.
Yeah,
I agree completely. I love,
and
Zelig.
it is kind of that, and it's him playing around with it and making it really work.
I guess you could say, to some minor degree, would Forrest Gump also fit into that category a little bit?
I guess, but it's not as well done as Zelig.
I agree, but there are moments.
The Zelig stuff is so convincing, and particularly considering when it was made.
Yeah,
it's just astonishing what he managed to do with that footage.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love that movie.
Yeah. But I would think to what Joe was saying. I mean, Adam, we were just talking obviously we are hyping our movies, so why not talk about this a bit? But when we made Airports and we first started showing it to people and they were enjoying it, and we were like, okay, so it's not a complete waste. Talk about who you sent it to, what the reaction was, because it kind of goes to what Joe said in a different way.
Yeah. So Joe, you may or may not know, I made a movie a few years ago that Penn wrote. And so I got to be very close with Penn.
And started.
What's that?
And started.
Yes, Penn wrote it and played the villain in it. And he and I became very close, and I became very close with Teller as well. And they screen movies all the time in Vegas with their friends and their families. So when we finished Airports, I called them up and I said, guys, I have something I need to show you, but I can't tell you anything about it. Just trust me. Just please all watch it, and I need to know what you think of it, because we're trying to figure out if this is working at all, if we're wasting our time. Anyway, they watched it.
Do we need a lot of help?
Yes, do we need a lot of help? They loved it, which we were shocked by, but thrilled by. And because they're such movie fans, they're, especially Teller, the way he worded it, and I wish I remembered his exact wording, but he basically said it, in his mind, he felt that it was pure cinema. It was just the love of movies, and it proved that all the conventions of cinema that we have all been led to believe are so important are bullshit. It all means nothing. And then Josh said, which I agree with, he said, but there was one element that is important, and it may very well be the only element that's important: eye line. As long as there's eye line, everything else is fine.
Because we found that if we were cutting, we would be cutting from like a scene in the first Airport to a scene in Airport 75, and it's different, film stock and it's a 5-year difference, you can tell. But because the eye line's there, the scene works. And I think that's everyththing.
But also, you're lucky that you're dealing with a studio product. I mean, the Universal Pictures always had a certain look. They're always slick. They're well photographed, and it's not like you're going through a forest of grain trying to figure out what this shot is. I mean, it's really right up there for you, and it's.
But even still, you're talking about like a scene where somebody's sitting in a Boeing 701 or something from 1970, and they're looking at somebody in the reverse shot as they're in a 747 5 years later. With this completely different color scheme inside, it does kind of blow the illusion. But as long as they were like that, we found it worked. And again, we're not we're not working at the standard that something like Dead Man Don't Wear Plaid is at. We're like, yeah, if it doesn't work for you, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
How much did you pay?
Yeah, it was just fun. It was just fun for us.
Yeah, but it did work. And then we also talked about, like, does this qualify? It's not really, as far as I know, they didn't edit the film much, although there's a couple of inserts, I guess, of Woody Allen, but like What's Up Tiger Lily?
I would say it's
But What's Up Tiger Lily is actually, it's actually a completely recut version of that original movie.
Name 3 presidents.
Roosevelt, McKinley. Lincoln?
Back when Woody Allen wasn't making movies, this was the one that he made. And it was, and it was it was a Japanese picture called Key of Keys, and it was sort of a spoof already, which helped. But they don't tell you that. But in fact, it's completely overdubbed with different dialogue, and some of it is hilariously funny. And there are 2 versions of it. There's the theatrical version, which is somewhat raw, and then there's the TV version, in which all the jokes that are questionable,
all the good stuff gone, yeah,
but redone. And I would hold out for the theatrical version, and also it's in scope, so you have to you don't want to watch a pan and scan because half the jokes are off camera.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming the DVD version is the theatrical one. I just remember, I haven't seen it in so long. I just remember, can you do this joke? The guy's sitting in his car, and a beautiful young woman, does she jump out of a window or something and lands in the passenger seat? And he looks at her and he goes, an Oriental.
Well, I would also say that some of the jokes don't pass muster anymore.
I was going to say, yeah, you can't do that joke anymore. Yeah.
I mean, it was what year was it? 1965, 1966 that they made that?
66, yeah.
Was it successful? I mean, I know it was successful.
It was pretty successful. AIP distributed, and they got a lot of bookings, and it was very big on the revival circuit for years.
Right.
It's hilarious. I mean, it is really very funny.
It's
I've been meaning to go back to it because it's again, movie.
Didn't they cut in like performance footage by like the Love and Spoonful or something?
The Love and Spoonful, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. With the Love and Spoonful, and also it cuts to Woody every so often.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
But it's one of my favorite Woody Allen pictures.
I love it. Now, so correct me if I'm wrong. So he had not directed a movie before. He disowns it. Of course he did.
He disowns it.
So he had never.
Because it's so funny.
This is his first film as a director, technically director, right?
Yeah.
And so but prior, was What's New Pussycat before this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it. And then sort of, I guess, in a similar, I'd forgotten this one. Kung Pao, Enter the Fist. Or Steve Odekirk made this movie like 2002 where he cut himself.
Speaking of movies that may not meet the political moment, that one might have some residual PC issues. But I remember when it came out, I thought there was some funny stuff in it, you know?
Yeah.
We are both ventriloquists. We are both ventriloquists, and we practice every day. He carries a basket.
He carries a paper roll.
And we don't have cysts. But there is one thing that's for sure, my friends. We are ventriloquists.
Have you seen him before? Never. Ventriloquist, huh?
And also, does this count? And we'll get back into kind of quote real and real mashups in a minute. Trail of the Pink Panther.
Well, that's the one that they took all the footage as after Sellers died, and then they tried to piece together, I guess, a lot of outtake footage or something like that.
That's what I remember. How they promoted it, right? It was like all the stuff that wasn't used from all the other Pink Panther movies. They combined to create this new Pink Panther movie post Peter Sellers' death.
And it wasn't like Joanna Lumley's a reporter, and she's like going around trying to find out what happened to Clouseau, and people keep telling her stories that
Pretty cynical.
Oh yeah, very. I mean, hey, we got some short ends. I think Peter Sellers.
But you know what? Now that I think about it, if you're gonna put that movie into the category, which I believe fits, I remember there was a Three Stooges feature. I don't remember the name of it. That was a bunch of their shorts cut together. It was released.
Up, Look, and Laugh.
Right. Exactly. And they created a feature from just clips from the shorts. Yeah, and I remember it didn't make a lot of sense.
They had footage with kid show hosts and stuff in between, and
people
with dummies and things.
Right.
But was it repurposed so it's something else?
Totally repurposed as a feature.
Yeah. So not like when they would put out 2 episodes of Man from U.N.C.L.E. as a movie in France.
No. This was an attempt to make a different movie by using the same footage.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, and I guess also sort of, and probably the worst of them all, right? Game of Death.
Well, the Game of Death is pretty interesting, though. I mean, there's like, what is it, like 6 minutes or something of the real Bruce Lee?
11, but yeah, somewhere in there.
And the rest of it is all doubles, and the lengths they had to go to concoct a plot.
Yeah,
with all these new actors who were not in the original.
Including a guy who doesn't look like Bruce Lee, but they shoot him a lot over the shoulder.
It's quite interesting. Brian Trenchard Smith does a very good trailer from hell on it. And if you go to the site, he's got a lot of interesting insights into how that picture was put together.
And I remember as a kid being like, because it was sold effectively so that if you were, 10, you wanted to see it. And also like Bruce Lee and Kareem, like that looked amazing. And that's pretty much all the footage, I think. But there was a thing recently on Twitter. It was hilarious. People were trying to, somebody sort of put out there for, let's discuss what is the worst movie ever released by the Criterion Collection. And people were sort of going through, movies they had put out and so forth. And then somebody realized, it doesn't have to be necessarily the main release. And there is this, they do have a complete and it's wonderful box set of Bruce Lee movies, and Game of Death is on it. And I think like the instant somebody realized that, it was over. It's like, there is not, Criterion has not put out just a Game of Death disc. Nobody would do that, but it is out there on Criterion. And I don't know. I've never made it through again as an adult. I can't, but
it's got so many iconic images from it though,
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
that costume.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the costume, which isn't, which Uma wears, right? In Kill Bill.
Exactly. Let me ask you this. Do you think this movie would fit into this mashup category? And it might be a stretch. Targets.
Oh, well,
so much of that movie are the clips of the old movies.
Only at the beginning and end.
Yeah.
Really.
I feel like that's a thing you do anyway. If you're making a movie about a character who's a movie star and you've got clips of their old movies, like if they had been repurposed in such a way that, like,
I suppose so.
The stuff for The Terror was actually, shit that had happened to Boris Karloff when he was young. Yeah. Like, for instance, like you brought to, like, there's only a few minutes of it, but in The Limey,
of course,
cutbacks to what is it, Old Cow? Is that what
I did it with Bert, obviously,
Oh yeah, of course. Oh my God.
Take the next exit. All right.
Why? The airport's ahead.
I could see that, but take the next exit.
To Knoxville? It's a 3-hour drive. What time's your plane?
I'll reschedule it.
Okay, I can't just up and go to Knoxville. I got things I gotta do.
Bjorn can wait. I was promised an assistant and a car for the whole weekend. Look what things I gotta take care of. Now go.
Think you ought to slow down a little? We're liable to get pulled over.
Goddamn son of a bitch!
God damn, it's a Texas Mountie. What the hell's he doing in Arkansas?
I think you better pull off to the side, Vic.
Well, let's just see what he's got under the hood.
Bye-bye, baby. Vic, take it easy. I may be old, but I'm not ready to die yet. What the hell's the matter with you? We could have been killed. You think you're gonna live forever?
Uh-huh.
Look, I know you think you've got it all figured out right now.
Well, I just grace it, thanks.
But listen to me. You're on a collision course. You're about to make a lot of bad life decisions.
Really?
I can help you before you throw it all away.
Too late now.
But would you, Joe? Would you consider Hollywood Boulevard a quote unquote mashup movie?
I would consider it a mash.
Because there's so much footage from other movies in it, right?
That's a good point.
It was indeed created around footage from other movies. That's true. I guess you could call it that. Yeah.
So you are the not only are the creator of the genre.
Well, but that's why I'm saying that my experience on the movie Orgy definitely influenced a lot.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah,
Boulevard was made. It wouldn't have been made if we hadn't had access to that old footage, because we only had 10 days and $60,000. We figured, how are we going to make a movie we can release without action scenes? And all the action scenes were from other pictures.
Did you pitch that idea to Roger, and that's how it came about, or did he pitch it to you? How did that movie come about?
John Davison bet Roger that he could make the cheapest picture that they'd made at New World, and Roger said, "Okay, fine." And the rest
I love it.
Made up.
It's fantastic.
That's fantastic. The closest I got, I was working for a long time, and then it never happened on, believe it or not, The Italian Job 2. And it got close to going. And, obviously the remake, not...
The Statham one?
No, the Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg, sorry. I was thinking of something else.
Which was a pretty good movie, F. Gary Gray. And the fun thing, I remember it sort of hit me, and it was very much inspired by The Limey, which is like just one of my favorite movies. And kind of my big angle that I think helped get me the job was, I was like, well, let's retroactively make the last one a sequel and not a remake. And the idea being that the Michael Caine character is actually like the uncle of the Mark Wahlberg character. And the plot of The Italian Job 2 was going to be directly connected to things that had happened in the original Michael Caine Italian Job. And we would use a lot of footage of that. I was very excited to try to make that happen. But it would have been a little bit of that, right?
Would have been great. I remember you telling me about that at the time.
That was fun. And then there was a whole thing that happened sort of at the dawn of the YouTube era, which was a lot of fun. I can identify with some of these obsessives. I think the first kind of the really great one. Did you ever see the somebody cut a trailer for The Shining as a romantic comedy?
That's the first time I saw that kind of thing, and it blew my mind.
Meet Jack Torrance.
I'm outlining a new writing project.
He's a writer looking for inspiration.
Lots of ideas. No good ones.
Meet Danny.
Mr. Torrance.
He's a kid looking for a dad.
There's hardly anybody to play with around here.
What's up, Doc?
Jack just can't finish his book.
I don't want to sound melodramatic, but there's no way to make it economically feasible.
Here's to 5 miserable months.
They did a whole series of that.
And now, and then a million other people started doing them, and some of them were hit and miss, but that one is a masterpiece. I'm definitely going to cut to that here. But that was fun. And I just always find that stuff so entertaining. And so, like, especially now in a kind of age where everything's digital, where you sit there and you go, I could do that. And then the challenge is like, go ahead and do that. There's a couple that I would love. I haven't been able to find. There's a movie called Terror Nullius. Have you guys ever heard of this? It's a 2018 Australian film that's kind of a remix of Road Warrior and some other Australian films. I found some clips. It seems they do it like there's a great scene where they redub the Lord Humongous giving a speech. And it seems like it might be very inside baseball for Australian politics. So I don't know, but it'd be kind of interesting to see that. But I don't know anyone who has it. And there's one called Tribulation 99, which is an alien invasion movie with a lot of scenes from old alien invasion movies cut together, which I have not been able to find. But I have two that I think are absolutely the best of the best. Two that have just like not just knocked me out for the level of effort that has gone into them, but just for the fact that the way that they work as movies. And I know you guys have seen both of them, and I don't even want to do it in any particular order. I guess I'll the one I do last will be the one that I think required the most physical labor. That's the only rather than going, this is the best. But the first one would be Ladies and Gentlemen, Final Cut from 2013, which a Hungarian director named, I'm going to mangle this so badly, Georgi Palfi. And my understanding, and I could be completely wrong, is that he was a director who had a film going, had a green light, and then they pulled the plug on it at the last minute. And he sort of threw himself into an editing room and started cutting this thing together. And he came to the conclusion that we've only ever made 2 movies. One is Boy Meets Girl. The other is A Stranger Comes to Town. And he decided to do Boy Meets Girl. And it includes, the best number I could come up with, you could find, seemed plausible, 451 clips from mostly movies, but a few TV shows that tells the story Boy Meets Girl.
I would bet it's 450 movies with thousands of clips.
Good point. Yes. And it's astonishing. You guys have both seen it.
Yeah.
And
it's amazing.
You've not seen it?
It's amazing.
It is like everything. You can find it on YouTube and Vimeo. Pretty good quality copies. It's incredible. And it's, I find every time I watch it and show it to people, I have the exact same 2 reactions. One of which is you're just like energized by the sheer creative brilliance of it. And the other is I'm so profoundly depressed by the fact that, Jesus Christ, we just keep making the same fucking movies over.
Exactly. And I had the same reaction because you look, it's like every trope. It's just, and it's just every movie has the same tropes. When you see it all butted up, shot by shot by shot by shot by shot, it's fascinating. I guess the best way to describe it in the way I'm thinking out, just to think out loud, is that for every moment of the story that he's created, he uses multiple moments from multiple movies that have used
it's not like one scene from one movie and then one scene from another.
It's like when the character
Johnny
wakes
Depp
up,
is looking and talking, and then he's talking to like Marianne Davis, and they're whatever, and it's just
every second is like 4 different movies, and every movie is the same moment, and every trope is the same trope. It's just it makes you realize we've all been completely had, but it's okay. But it just is. It is just a total scam that there are more than 2 movies that have ever been made.
And what's the name of this picture?
Final Cut.
It's called Ladies and Gentlemen, Final Cut.
Okay.
And it's absolutely unbelievably, it's phenomenal.
It truly is a movie. It's sort of like the perfect movie lovers and movie haters experience.
But it's kind of like, imagine the world we could have if maybe we had 4 stories.
Now, here's a question I have that's philosophical in nature, but also thoroughly rhetorical. But so in literature, in art, in music, everybody seems to be very open to and accepting of fucking with the form, doing something unique, doing something interesting, the unreliable narrator, modern art, whatever it is, experimental music. But when you try to mess with the conventions of a movie, audiences generally reject it, no matter what. Why? And then you see here, okay, well, this is why every movie has to follow the same beats for people to be able to digest it. Why is that? Why are people so close-minded to something new from film?
Are they, though? Or is that the gatekeepers?
I think the gatekeepers is exactly the answer.
Maybe.
Because I'll tell you that one of the things I've noticed over the years that's made me happy, and I think people like, Quentin was certainly instrumental in this, in bringing that kind of new wave sensibility into just like, what are, as much as they're great indie films, there's also like very mainstream appeal to a lot of his movies, if not all of them. But he does bring these kind of radical ideas into them that you hadn't seen in kind of mainstream American movies, that have kind of opened people up. I will never forget my first experience as a studio writer. I had sold my first spec to a studio, and it was, speaking of mashups, it was a modern day remake of not just The Three Musketeers, but of Richard Lester's Three Musketeers. And I did this thing in the beginning where I would open up with each character and I would take them up to the point that they meet the D'Artagnan character. And it was all happening at the same morning. And then, so you'd meet one character goes up, meets the D'Artagnan character. Then you'd go back, alarm clock going up, another character, one of the other Musketeers waking up, takes you up to them meeting that character, and then so forth and so on. And it was one of the things that I remember the exec who bought it was like, oh, I love this so much. This is great. And then I proceeded to keep getting studio notes endlessly, where I think I spent more time writing this than any other part of the film, where some executives simply either they didn't understand or they felt the audience wouldn't understand, or I don't know what. I guess they didn't, because they wanted in the screenplay to describe exactly what was happening with time so that they wouldn't be confused. And it was exhausting. There were paragraphs that would be like, now we're going back.
They are of audiences.
It was like, but it wasn't even stuff they'd see. It was like, here's what you're going to see, but now you have to explain to them. And it was like, now we're going to go back to 6 a.m. the same morning and follow a different character until he meets our character. And this is all happening concurrently. That's what, it's like, and endless rewrites so that they would understand that. Yeah. But now I see movies all the time that play around with time, like mainstream films that kind of bounce around.
Well, yeah, which is great. And like, Memento is probably a good example of that. And
Memento is a great example of that. Or if you're watching Poker Face,
Poker Face
really getting
never tells a story linearly. It always tells you the story before the heroine finds out about it, or vice versa.
Well, no, but even more interesting, you think it is, and then they go back in the beginning and you realize the heroine's been there. She just hasn't connected with the story in the scenes you've already seen.
I got to watch that
But
show.
they play with that.
It's very clever.
And it's just like, it's great. It's a success. And nobody's sitting there, if they are, they're not enough to form a movement. Nobody's out there going, I don't know what's happening on this show. It's like people are smarter than you think. So I'm seeing all kinds of ways that stuff's being broken down. But to go to your thing, yeah, Adam, but all still in the service of either Stranger Comes to Town or Boy Meets Girl.
Yeah, yeah. But that's the fascinating thing.
There's supposed to be 12 stories, 12 basic stories.
Just two, Joe.
Well, when you look at this version of Boy Meets Girl, and you see how many movies from every era of movie that he completely just shuffles together, second by second by second. It's fascinating and thoroughly depressing. You're absolutely right, Josh. It does both. It serves both. But it's really great. It's also really great. It apparently screened at Cannes.
Yeah, it did. And it also, I remember Cinefamily, where we all used to love, and I was on the board for a while. They actually did a real screening of it many years ago. Hadrian was instrumental in making that happen. They somehow managed to figure out a way where you could do that without sort of violating any laws. But because that's the first time I saw it, and just breathtaking.
Yeah.
If you pull it off for 15 minutes, you'd be going like, that's pretty impressive.
True,
but it's a feature-length film. It's an hour 25.
And it's fascinating how quickly you immediately catch on to what he's doing and get it and are just swept along into it. It doesn't take much to find your sea legs on it at all.
And I wonder how familiar. It's not like you have to be able to identify, or you certainly can't identify every film or even half of them, or even everybody who's in them.
Joe would.
A lot of movie stars. Yeah, probably. But I wonder if you just were not a movie person at all and you watched it, would it make any sense?
I bet it would, because it's very clear. Every moment is very clear.
Yeah.
And it is interesting how many movies have played the same exact moment over and over and over and over again, decade after decade after decade.
I feel like it's been a while, but there's a whole bit of the hero walking in the rain, dejected.
Yes, exactly. And how many movies do, every moment is totally, it basically, it's sort of like a love letter to movies and a fuck you letter to movies all at the same time.
I always love that scene, man, of the hero walking in the rain, dejected. Best version being, I think, the Apple, where he's singing and he's walking down the street and it's raining and he's leaning, he's got his back against the wall and he's singing, I'm standing in the rain with my back against the wall. But the one I think that I again, I don't want to take away from anything. They're all their own thing, and you don't have to, but just in terms of labor, would be Timekeepers of Eternity, which I know Joe's seen and you've seen
that
too, right?
Was amazing.
It's a 2021. Aristoteles Marakos is the filmmaker, and it's if you don't know it, and again it's on YouTube and Vimeo. He took the 2-part TV series The Langoliers, I believe directed by
Tom Holland.
That's right. One of our fantastic filmmaker, and everybody knows, you get in TV and who the hell knows, not the greatest Stephen King adaptation. But he took it, and I'll save the best part for last. He cut the 3-hour thing down to about an hour 5 so that it actually works and it moves like gangbusters. Oh, and then he transferred every frame of it to paper, which he then physically manipulates so that sometimes the scene goes from one scene to another by literally just tearing.
Not just paper, black and white Xeroxes.
Black and white, yeah. So there's this weird quality to it, but he also uses the tears for like narrative purpose. I mean, I'm not even doing it justice.
It's astonishing.
It is astonishing. He takes the medium of paper and fully leans into it. So not just the tearing. Yes. So that becomes the motif. But within the moments, he takes the crinkles of the paper and like will just crinkle certain areas of the frame of the paper so that if a character like hits the wall, the crinkles will expand beyond, and or he'll do transitions where he'll tear the paper and behind it is the next scene, but then he'll tear this side and there's a whole other scene in this little strip that he tore away and then a little hole with an eye looking through it of a tear. It was fascinating.
It is unreal. And I think I found out about it while we were doing airports. And it was one of those things that it wasn't easily available then. I remember tracking him down and kind of just sort of like, one of those things where you're just shameless. You're like, hi, I'm an Academy Award nominated screenwriter. And you're like, and I've just finished this thing that, I'd love. It's like, I've heard yours is wonderful. I'd love to see it. And he was like, sure. And he sent it to me. And after I watched it, I was like, I can't send him our stupid thing. This is like, I'm like, oh, you work in clay too? I just made a sculpture. And then some guy sends you back like David and you've made a Mr. Bill or something. but he was wonderful. And then I guess he did this recently because I know a couple of people I know who know the film got these, who have sort of hyped it over the years. But he sent me this about a year ago. He's done these great VHS boxes.
Oh, great.
Where it's like, I assume I have no way to play it, that it's the actual movie on VHS. But if you can tell, he's taken like, and I have another friend who's got one of these, that's a different movie. It's a VHS box for Jaws that he's ripped and put another poster on, and he's done the same thing. I mean, it's a work of art in itself. I want to frame it.
Well, what makes his different than every other one we've talked about so far is that he really did take an underlying piece of material and he created something not just different story-wise, not just different genre-wise. He turned it into an entirely different form, it's just an entirely different work of art.
It's a work of...
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if he had just cut Langoliers down to an hour 5, you'd be like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it is. And that's the other thing, too. It's like you get sucked in. It works.
Works really well.
It's entertaining. Yeah. And as you say, all the things that he does with the effects work towards the film. They work in sync with the film. It's not distracting. It's part and parcel of. By the time you're done, you're like, well, this is the obvious way it should have been done.
Yeah. I wonder if Tom Holland has seen it. He must have seen it.
He must have. We got to find out.
Is he a Trailers from Hell guru, Joe?
Who?
Tom Holland.
Tom. Oh, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I wonder if Stephen King has seen it.
Yeah, I would wonder. God, he I can't imagine they both wouldn't be super impressed with it, no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter what, because it's just such a unique thing to do.
And where could people see this?
That too, happily, like ladies and gentlemen, is available on both YouTube and Vimeo. So you can see it for free and legitimately in the sense of the filmmakers have put them up so that you can see them. Cannot recommend them highly enough.
As
I said, yeah.
Speaking of taking multiple movies and cutting them down into one movie, there is a fan edit that was done by Topher Grace. Have you guys heard of this? Of the first, the episodes 1, 2, and 3 of the Star Wars franchise. He cut those all 3 down into one 85-minute movie, and he screened it once for like 100 of his friends. And now there's nowhere to see it. It's not available online or anything. But he just did it as an exercise in editing because he was learning editing, and apparently it's great. But nobody's seen it. But whoever was in that room that day,
Huh. Well, in stuff like that, I guess it doesn't quite get. But Steven Soderbergh kind of does things like that. His the one I enjoyed it. He'd be the first to tell you it's a lesser film in terms of ambition, or seeming ambition, but he did a like an hour and 45-minute long cut of Heaven's Gate.
Yeah, which we watched.
Yeah, which is pretty good. Joe's fussing.
I'm adjusting there.
There you go.
I love that pod behind you, Joe.
Isn't that great? Yeah, but that's and then I know someone. I don't know if you'd want me to talk about, but I know someone who's been trying to cut the Peter Jackson Hobbit movies down to 90 minutes.
Why?
Which
Interesting.
Like might be a worthy exercise. Well, kind of the odd thing with that film, whether you like it or not, is like it's so bizarre. Like, yeah, he got 3 massive films out of the 3 books, but the Hobbit's like barely a novella, and he made 3 movies out of that. It seems to me like you ought to be able to cut that down to 90 minutes somehow. But I think also as an exercise. But it's fun to do, man. It's like if you are so inclined to do these things.
Oh, speaking of, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm sorry, but I don't want to forget, and I've been meaning to ask you this, Joe, for years. Have you seen the fan-created short film of Gremlins 3, where they put Gremlins in The Exorcist and they put Gremlins in Batman?
Yes, I have. It's very funny.
It's very funny. I thought they did a really
well
good
done,
job.
too.
Yeah, very well done. I don't remember what it's called, but it's really clever and funny. There was a movie I wanted to talk about for 1 second that I don't think counts as a mashup movie. I think it just counts as an example of egregious plagiarism, but in a bad way, as opposed to ours, which is in a good way. But have you heard of the movie called Cruel Jaws? So as we all know, there have been many Jaws inspired movies since Jaws, and in 1995. They made an Italian director named Bruno Mattei directed one called Cruel Jaws, which is basically a remake of Jaws. It's just a really, really bad, low-budget remake of Jaws 20 years after Jaws. But what he did, and the reason why the movie is so hard to come by, which I think now Severin may have put it out on Blu-ray, but for years it couldn't be seen because they took so much footage from all the real Jaws films and just cut them in like they had shot them. I mean, just like not just like a shot of like a fin going by, like big chunks of movie. And the whole movie is a collage of, they shot some of their movie for real, which, is terrible. And their fake shark is hilariously bad. But they use so much footage from other Jaws movies that it couldn't get released. So I don't think that counts as a mashup movie as much as it just counts as thievery. But I just had to throw that out there. Cruel Jaws.
Then here's another one. Let's ask. So I just watched it. By the way, Adam wasn't there, but we would have watched it anyway. Many times, and this show's a great example. Like there are movies that I've seen that have not clicked with me, and I know that it's me, not the movie. Like I never, in all the years that I've watched, the one I always think of that the show changed for me was Blow Up. I never walked out of Blow Up going, what a piece of shit. I always went like, I don't get it. It's not clicking with me. And after enough people come on the show, just a few years back, I was like, let me give it another shot. And it was like, oh my God, there it is. Like, there it is. Wicker Man's another one. I never didn't enjoy it, but it took a few viewings. And then one day I watched it and I was just like, holy shit. It just made my head explode. This is not one of those. I think the worst movie I've ever watched repeatedly for various reasons. Saw it once theatrically, then it came on video, hoping it would be better. Then I watched, there was another cut of it that I hoped would be better. And every time I watch Caligula, it stinks. And with the exception of, and it's on the new set, there's an audio commentary on one of the cuts from Malcolm McDowell that is entertaining in itself. That we actually did as a movie night, I think. Were you there, Adam? That was fun. But Adam was one of many people who tried to talk me into the fact that there's the new cut, the ultimate cut is fantastic. And I'm like,
Well,
but what's
fantastic is
it's all different.
But that's the thing. I'm wondering almost, does this count? It's like there's not a single frame from the original Caligula. It's all footage that they didn't use. So it's alternate takes. It's a lot of coverage Oh my God, it's like half the movie is just proscenium shots. And if you love Caligula, you'll enjoy it. But I think I'm done with that movie. But it occurred to me afterwards. I was like, that's kind of in its own weird way.
It is kind of, yeah, it is kind of weird. And you're right, Joe. It was not one frame from the original Caligula used. It was all.
Yeah.
But you know what? Malcolm told me, because I saw it now 3 times. Because Malcolm showed me a rough cut and then a fine cut, and then I went to see the LA premiere at Beyond Fest. And I think it's a blast. I love it. It's really fun. And he said, this is what you see now, this current cut, is the reason that they all signed on to do it. Because the current cut follows the Gore Vidal script. And they all signed on believing they were going to be in this classy Gore Vidal.
The Bob Guccione version.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's this scene where in the Bob Guccione version where he's watching 2 women have very graphic sex with one another. And he's like sort of smiling, like, with a slight, smirk, that Malcolm smirk. I said, what were you really looking at? He said, well, when we were shooting it, I was looking at a bird. He said, but Bob Guccione made it look like I was watching these women. But he said, Malcolm said that Bob Guccione was the worst person he's ever met in his life, just the worst human being.
Wow.
And I would imagine that's saying a lot, considering that Malcolm grew up in Liverpool and had all his various adventures throughout his years.
Yeah. Met many people. Well, the thing that I keep thinking about it, though, is when it would be kind of fun. It'd be hard to do with some films, but not so much with others. But imagine doing that with, like, The Godfather. And then imagine doing it with The Godfather and not telling anyone you've done it. Where it's like, but it's the exact same film. Like down to the second to the frame count, but it's all just different takes.
Well, you could do that. I've always imagined, what would you do? Whenever you cut a movie and you cut a scene, you obviously used this piece and that piece. What if you just used the pieces that weren't used? You'd have the same scene, but you'd be cutting to different people at different times, and it would be a very disorienting experience.
So true.
Well, that was Steve Martin had a thing he always wanted to do, where he would write a quick, down and dirty script that used all the same locations with the same essential, proportion, so that you would get all your takes. You get as many takes as you need of the scene for the real movie, and then just you take that extra couple minutes and you burn one take on the other movie with characters in the same outfit in the same location, and then you make 2 movies at the same time.
Oh, Roger.
But no, I'm sure that Roger would do that. It's Roger called that movie making. But imagine going off to see, like, hey, there's a new print of The Godfather, beautiful restoration, and you go and you sit down and you slowly start realizing these are different takes. It's the exact same dialogue, it's the exact same timing, it's the exact same score. Like, how long would it take you to notice? How disorienting would that be? How many people would think, because there's a movie you've seen 1,000 times, how many people would be sitting there going, I'm losing my mind. Something's happened to my brain. It would just be.
I made a very low budget independent film once, and the producer, who I shall remain nameless because he's around and I don't want to embarrass him or get him in trouble. But when we were making this little low budget indie sort of dramedy, he suggested seriously that we do the same thing, but do the takes with the cast, who we will cast. And then he said, then let's do one take with an all black cast, and then one take with an all Mexican cast. And then I can sell this around the world to different territories. And we talked him out of it, thank God. But he was dead set on doing that for a while.
Well, that's kind of what they do with Dracula.
Yeah.
Remember where they did, but that was just, they would shoot at nights. Is that right, Joe? Or
but that was because they wanted to hit the Spanish market. Talkies were new, and they wanted to make sure that they had.
I mean, but they wouldn't do it at the same time. They would, like, the A crew would leave for the day, and the B crew would come in overnight and shoot.
But oddly enough, in that case, the Spanish version is much closer to what the actual script was than.
Oh, really? It's different.
The version that was released by Universal is way cut down. And it something as simple as the maid fainting and Renfield crawling toward her, and then it cuts in the American version, and you think, oh, he's going to do something terrible. And the Spanish version goes on a little longer, and what he's doing is getting a fly off of her nose to eat. And that kind of stuff just vanished from the Todd Browning movie. And Browning was so furious about it. Even though it was a huge hit, he never worked for Universal again.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. Interesting.
Sorry, just wait. He was furious that they had done the other version, or that they had cut his stuff. Oh, okay. Yeah. I got to see that. I realize I've never watched it.
So here's a question for you, Joe, that you would likely know the answer to. So in those early studio system days, when directors would do movie after movie, so many movies in a year, were they just generally not a part of the post-production process?
Generally not.
Interesting.
Yeah.
They were usually off doing another movie by the time their picture was being cut.
So it was truly an assembly
they might
line.
They might see it, before it was released, or maybe even make a suggestion or two. But they were very seldom in the editing room, unless they were pretty top tier directors.
So when would that have changed? That basic idea, where directors then would be in the editing room. Yeah, because I just remember once I was watching an episode of The Tonight Show, and Johnny Carson was kibitzing back and forth with Fred de Cordova, who was sitting by the monitor, and they would always joke in those days that Fred directed Bedtime for Bonzo, which, of course, because Reagan was president, was a big joke, right? But I remember it was just a throwaway line, just a throwaway part of the conversation, and it stuck with me for years. Johnny said to Fred, before you turned to television and started producing for me, how many movies did you direct? And Fred said, about 50. I was like, wow, what?
I think he exaggerated.
Maybe. But even if it was 30, still.
Yeah, different time. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, thank you, man. This was fun. And again, to our listeners,
certainly unusual.
Offbeat. Yeah. But if you are in Waco, Texas on Friday, July 18th at 7 p.m., get yourself to the Waco Hippodrome and check out our movie Airports. It's free. In fact, if you tell them, if you drop anybody's name here, drop Joe's name, drop Adam's, drop mine, drop Bela Lugosi's.
Do you get an extra shot?
You'll get it free. That's all. Or don't. You'll get it free. It's free. It has to be free. We can never make a penny off this thing, which is
which is probably what we deserve.
Yeah, for sure, for the crimes committed. Anyway, we'll be back next week with a normal episode and a normal filmmaker who's never done anything this stupid, I hope. But thank you for joining us.
I'm sure glad that's over with. That's all, folks.
A message from the Almighty.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Good night.
Night, Jet. Good night, David.
Up we to sing and ink do. Good night, folks, and good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are.
The world stands out on either side, no wider than the heart is wide. Above the world is stretched the sky, no higher than the soul is high. Peace.
Now it's time to say goodbye to all our company. M-I-C.
See you real soon.
K-E-Y.
Why? Because we like you.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Happy trails to you till we meet again.
In 1970, Universal Pictures released the motion picture Airport. It was a massive hit, spawned 3 successful sequels, and ushered in the popular disaster movie genre. Now, Academy Award-nominated screenwriter Josh Olson and legendary world-class auteur filmmaking genius and amateur voiceover enthusiast Adam Rifkin, without permission from the studio and against the advice of their attorneys, have dared to edit all 4 original Airport films into one 90-minute movie they call Airports.
Yes, Danny.
All the flight crew is either dead or badly injured. Help us! Oh my God, help us!
See? That's what I mean. Those things are more important to you than we are.
Now, the driver doesn't mind waiting. His meter's running, and so is mine.
I'll get back to you. Bill? They don't call it the cockpit for nothing, honey.
The Movies That Made Me is the official podcast of Trailers from Hell, the best damn movie website there is. Our engineer is the composer Don Barrett, who also transmogrified, produced, and created our theme song. We are proud to be part of the SpectreVision Radio Network. Learn more at SpectreVision.com. This is the AI version of Josh Olson commanding you to go to Waco, Texas on July 18th at 7 p.m. for the free screening of Airports at the magnificent Hippodrome. Or else.
Damn. You're good looking. You know, time is like this river. No matter what you do or don't do, no matter how much you think you can beat it, just keeps rushing by.
You don't beat it. Don't beat this river.
No, you don't.